Well, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrapped up his two-day China visit on Saturday after meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping in the city of Wuhan. Now, the two leaders stressed on resetting their bilateral relations that strained in the backdrop of military standoff at Doklam last year. Earlier Saturday, PM Modi engaged in one-on-one talks with President Xi Jinping and also took a boat ride with him. After the informal summit, India's Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale highlighted the various issues that were discussed by the two leaders.
Bilateral trade and investment formed an important part of the discussion. The two leaders underlined that trade should be balanced, it should be sustainable, and that we should take advantage of the complementarities between the two economies to enhance our trade and investment.
Gokhale also added the two sides agreed that peace and tranquility will be maintained at the border and that strategic guidance would be given to the militaries of both the nations along with confidence-building measures. Apart from this, cooperation in climate change, sustainable development and counter-terrorism were also discussed by Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping. India and China are also likely to venture into a joint economic project in Afghanistan.
President Xi Jinping actually said that he had seen a number of Indian films, both Bollywood and regional, and that it would be a good idea to expand this, that more Indian films should come to China, more Chinese films should go to India.
When we talk about the India-China relationship, bilateral trade remains a key agenda item for both sides. Trade was also on the mind of Prime Minister Modi and President Xi when they sat down to discuss the future of India-China ties. So what are the key takeaways? Here's a report.
In recent times, trade has become a major bone of contention in international affairs. China is a key player in the global trade dispute, especially after the United States launched a trade war against Chinese goods. The times are changing and China is now looking for a shield for its economy, which is why people were not surprised when trade also came up for discussion during an informal dialogue between leaders of India and China.
Bilateral trade and investment formed an important part of the discussion. The two leaders underlined that trade should be balanced, it should be sustainable, and that we should take advantage of the complementarities between the two economies to enhance our trade and investment.
China's trade relationship with the United States may hit a wall, but this opens up an exciting opportunity for India and China. Beijing remains India's largest source for imports. It is also the third largest export destination for India. But the trade deficit between India and China stands at more than $50 billion. Indian businesses are keen on getting greater access to Chinese markets. In March this year, India was able to convince China for better markets access for Indian farmer products apart from agriculture commodities. As the rise of protectionism continues in the West, India and China have a rare opportunity to join hands and dictate terms for global trade. The possibilities are endless. Both countries have a large and young population. India and China are the fastest growing economies and among the world's biggest markets. The changing tunes of the West against globalization gives India and China an opportunity to put border disputes behind them and come together to protect their business interests. In a rapidly changing global scenario, India and China's fate remains intertwined, and this should enable diplomats on both sides to enable a reset in ties. Bureau Report, WION.